there.
And we're going to talk about the WHO, the WHO, World Health Organization. And yeah, I like this. It says, we're heading towards a very deliberate and dangerous repeal of human rights and national sovereignty. Well, some people might think, well, the WHO is established to protect us and protect our health. And that's what they say. But a lot of us believe that it's really just a power grab for control. And one of the ways that they're trying to do that is through a treaty that they've been working on for, I believe, 2 years, that they want to be signed. They want it to be signed and they want it to be ratified by all the governments. And in this treaty, what it's going to allow them to do is this little graphic here kind of shows that it's going to we're going to have loss of our sovereignty if this treaty passes. They want to enforce censorship. There you are. They want to increase our budget. They want to sole authority to declare a pandemic. We'll talk about that. And this will result in loss of human rights protections, and they want more enforced surveillance. So bottom line is what they want of this treaty is they want more power. They want to be able to declare an emergency pandemic. And when they officially declare this, then they want to set into these processes that will automatically kick in. And it basically just gives them the power to be the definite authority on what's a pandemic, when is it a pandemic, and what to do about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things is I'm going to read some things here that I found in a couple different videos that they talked about. Is their motto is that nobody's safe until everyone's safe. I mean, again, when these power players,
What?
well, it sounds
Nobody's
fine.
safe until everyone
is safe. I mean, these are the things they say. I mean, you've got the World Economic Forum, the WEF, who's famous for saying, you'll have nothing and you'll like it. And where do they come up with these? But they say these things.
Like it. You'll eat insects and you'll like it.
Yeah. So they say things like, no single government or multilateral agency can address this threat alone. They're basically saying, look, we need one central authority to handle this. And for some people, they're like, yeah, I agree. We want this central authority to, have like a central command and authority.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, I used to think this was a good idea too, until I realized.
You thought it was a good idea.
I thought that centralization was a good idea from an efficiency standpoint. I mean, think about it. Centralization, meaning one entity controls all the information. It is efficient.
Goodness.
Well, it's efficient because, I mean, there are lots of examples. I mean, that's why governments kind of were created.
It's efficient. But you're right. It depends on the source of the information. So the source is who would be controlling that information.
Right.
And so that's not efficient.
Well, it's efficient for the people that believe that's the right thing to do, meaning that if you've got information scattered all over the place, then that's inefficient, right?
But you'd have to be the most unbiased
And
authority.
And
that's never going to happen.
It never going to happen, and it never has happened. It never will happen.
Is going to happen.
But if you think about it, most of our world is controlled by centralization. So governments are centralized. Our money is centralized. There's a central bank that centralizes it. The church, the
religions,
Catholic Church, Pope,
religions, right, and that's where you get. That's where it goes kind of scary. And in my belief system, there's a book in the Bible called Revelation, and it talks about the one person that supposedly is going to bring that exactly what you're talking about in Revelation, which is a prophecy of the end. and that's what's going to happen. So whenever they keep saying this and everything, I mean, of course, from my standpoint, coming from a faith based, all I can think about is the book of Revelation. So
Right.
I'm like,
Well,
yeah, that sounds like what the Antichrist, and it's an Antichrist that will do this, or an Antichrist culture, or an Antichrist spirit. Um, we don't know because it's not totally specific. So we don't know if it's going to be one man, one government, one entity, what it's going to be. But that's this exactly what you're saying is exactly what it says in this book. So
yeah.
that
No,
it lines up like
it
perfectly the
does
WHO.
where you have
Mm-hmm.
these, and look at this serpent here. I don't know. That could be a sign of the devil.
Oh. Well, they started to talk about that. That serpent is actually in the medical.
Yeah, it's the medical
That's the
crest.
sign of the medical association, the AMA. So,
Well,
yeah.
the thing about these central, I the reason I was the reason it made sense was sort of like from a scientific standpoint, and a logical standpoint. It's like, you if you've got too much information, it's why they have like police centers and command centers and storms. It's like they want all the information to funnel through one place. Otherwise, you'd have information all over the place, and nobody knows what to really do or believe. And ironically, that's what did happen really in the last pandemic was that there was information coming from all over the place and it was confusing. Nobody knew who to believe. And so I think that
Hmm.
the WHO is looking this year or at now and basically saying, look, we want to quell that. We want to be even, we want to control it. The problem
Hmm.
is that I had to learn the hard way was that centralization, it while it might be efficient, it is naturally corrupt. And with
Right.
power, with what do they say, with great power comes great responsibility, but power just seems to go to people's head, and then they think they know it all. And what if these world organizations don't really have our best interest at heart, like our
What
individual
if?
interest? What if that is the case?
What if?
Then the centralized controlling decisions that they make, I mean, are to our detriment. And that's what I think we found out, in the pandemic.
We
And
absolutely found that out. I mean, they did that pre-pandemic summit without
right,
all of us knowing about it, and they said how it would go down. What, less than 6 months of when it went down.
yeah,
So it's a little precursor to, you know, you need to watch these things. You need to watch these organizations to see what they're doing because they always give a glimpse of what is about to happen.
and so there's a lot of people that are tuned into this. There's a lot of doctors and scientists that are tuned into this, and uh, there's been a lot of forums to try to alert people to this treaty that was about to come. Now, I'm going to spoil it a little bit and say that when I first was working on this, information was about a week and a half ago, and since
Hmm.
then, it basically they had their World Health Economic Forum. They needed to vote it in, and all agree on themselves, and they couldn't agree, and so they tabled it. They basically said they're not going to push this treaty through
Hmm.
because they just couldn't. They couldn't get their stuff together, basically. Now, but they'll come back. They'll regroup and they'll come and push this again. But
Right.
at the time when I started working on this, and this just happened, I think Wednesday or Thursday of last week, where they basically it failed internally and they didn't let it out. But they were preparing to ratify it during those meetings and then push it out to governments. And so like governments would have to sign it. And so there was actually a lot of Congress people that were gearing up to tell President Biden, not to sign this thing, and that
Hmm.